All right, today we are going to break down a story that sent an absolute shockwave through the financial markets. It's a story that has it all: a massive fraud, a stock market crash, and most importantly, some critical lessons that can help you protect your own wealth. It all kicks off with two simple numbers. First, you see this number, 590 crore rupees. Just let that sink in for a second. A staggering amount of money. But what exactly does it represent? And then there's this number, negative 20%. I mean, that's the kind of figure that gives investors nightmares, right? A catastrophic drop in value all happening in a single day. Okay, so let's connect the dots here. That 590 crore rupees, that was part of a massive fraud disclosed by IDFC First Bank. And the result? A 20% crash in their stock. We're talking over 14,000 crore rupees of investor wealth just poof, vanished. An absolutely brutal day on Dalal Street. So that brings us to Section 1, a shock to the system. You know, this fraud really came as a surprise. It hit a market that felt pretty stable, a market that thought it had priced in all the major risks. It's just a stark reminder of how a single, localized event can spark widespread panic. Now here's the crucial point. Investors weren't selling because they thought the bank was about to go bankrupt. No, they were selling because their trust was completely broken. The market applied what's known as a governance discount. They basically punished the stock because, all of a sudden, they had serious doubts about the bank's internal controls. Which leads us to Section 2, Anatomy of a Bank Heist. So how on earth did this happen? You might be thinking it was some sophisticated, high-tech cyber attack, right? Well, not even close. This heist reveals a surprisingly low-tech method that exploited the oldest weakness in banking, human failure. The way they pulled this off was surprisingly simple. The fraudsters targeted specific government accounts. Then, over several months, they used old-school, manual checks to siphon money out into this whole web of shell accounts. And the only reason they got caught? A government department tried to close an account and found out the money was gone. But wait a minute. Aren't there systems in place to prevent exactly this kind of thing? Absolutely. The main safeguard is called the maker-checker protocol. Think of it like a nuclear launch sequence. You need two different people with two different keys. One person, the maker, sets up the transaction, but a second person, the checker, has to independently approve it before anything happens. And this right here is the real problem. The system itself didn't fail. That protocol was in place. The failure was human. Investigators believe there was deep collusion, which means multiple officials were all in on it together. They were the makers and the checkers, working together to bypass every single safeguard. Okay, on to Section 3, the ripple effect. Now, a story like this naturally leads to the big question. Is this just an isolated incident, or is it a sign of a much deeper, scarier problem in the entire banking system? Well, this chart really helps put the fraud in perspective. While 590 crore is a massive number, I mean, look, it's almost an entire quarter's profit. It's still a tiny fraction of the bank's total loan book of nearly 280,000 crore. At just 0.21%, it's a painful hit to their earnings for sure, but it doesn't threaten the bank's survival. And for some extra reassurance, the RBI governor himself moved pretty quickly to calm the markets. He stated that while the case is being monitored, it is not a systemic issue. This was an isolated internal failure, not a sign of a widespread banking crisis. Okay, now for what I think is the most important part of this whole thing. Section 4, your 3-point safety check. Let's use this crisis as an opportunity to do a little personal risk audit to protect your own money. First up, the absolute necessity of sectoral limits. You see, many of us have a home bias. We tend to invest way too heavily in sectors we think are safe and familiar, and banking is a big one. This case shows just how dangerous that can be. A good rule of thumb is to cap your total exposure to the banking and financial services sector, or BFSI, at a maximum of 25 to 30% of your portfolio. This makes sure that a big shock in just one sector doesn't completely cripple your entire wealth creation journey. Lesson number 2 is so important for active investors. After a 20% crash, a stock can look incredibly cheap, but it's absolutely vital to know the difference between a temporary price drop and a permanent value trap. The smart move here is to avoid catching a falling knife. A full forensic audit can take 4 to 6 weeks. Until that report is out, you have no idea if more bad news is coming. It's much better to just wait and watch until the full extent of the damage is actually known. And finally, lesson 3. This is about taking that core principle of banking security, that maker-checker rule, and applying it directly to your own finances. You need to create your own maker-checker system.
And here are 2 really simple things you can do. First, manually reconcile. Don't just trust the SMS alerts. Once a month, actually log in yourself and check that the balances in your bank and demat accounts match your records. Second, diversify custody. Don't keep all your eggs in one basket. Spread your savings across at least 2 different good banks.
So that brings us to our final section, the ultimate currency. So, what's the final verdict here? This entire case study is a painful reminder that at its very core, banking isn't really about technology or balance sheets. It's a business built on a single, fragile asset, trust. And this leads to a powerful, and frankly, a chilling realization. The biggest risk for any investor is complacency. Believing your bank, your stock, or your portfolio is somehow immune to disaster is the most dangerous assumption you can make. Because in the world of finance, the most expensive words are, "It can't happen here." Which leaves us with one final question for you to think about. This whole event exposed a massive blind spot for a major bank. So the real question is, what are yours? Have you taken the time to audit your own financial blind spots?